Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's Thursday morning, it's sunrise. I'm up here at Port Stephens and it's a magical day, a beautiful summer's day. And let me just show you the view that I am experiencing at the moment, so that you too can vicariously be part of my morning journey. As you can see, it's just absolutely beautiful. I'm perched out here on the edge of a cliff. With a 200-metre drop, 200 or 300, maybe even 400 metres. It's a long way down there. Having a few problems with my camera on my iPhone at the moment. It may be coming across a little blurred, but I think it could be because I've changed the battery and the service centre put in a bodgy battery which the phone software can't recognise. And what the phone does in circumstances like that, by the looks of it, is that it plays with the focus of your phone to annoy you enough to cause you to go and put a proper battery in there. So please forgive me, but given that I'm here, given that I have this magnificent view, this magnificent vista, I think it's probably a good idea to make the most of it, even though it's not perfect, and make some progress and deliver a book summary this morning entitled A Guide to Rational Living by an author named Albert Ellis. Just so you're aware, the beach down there that I'm overlooking, that beautiful ocean-facing beach, that eastern-facing beach that is drenched in the morning sun, is called Zenith Beach. The one next to it over there is called Box Beach, and the third one along over there is called Wreck Beach. And then we've got the Sandspit, which joins Fingal Bay Beach to Shark Island, and at the easternmost point of Shark Island is a lighthouse and a residence for a lighthouse attendant. The residence has been burnt down, unfortunately, but it's a beautiful sandstone building and well worth the walk. But a couple of years ago we had a couple of storms come through which swept away the sand from the sandbank, and it is treacherous at the moment, so you can't quite get across there. But based on the way nature works, sooner or later another storm will come and wash the sands back, and we'll be able to go across and get some vlogs and partake in the adventures of Shark Island. But can't wait for that time to happen. Anyway, let's get into this book summary and see where it leads us. And the book summary is a good one, A Guide to Rational Living. Because the author here kicks off and tells us straight out that irrational thoughts are the sources of many disturbances that we have, and the source of much pain, much suffering. So it's not what happens to us or what may happen to us, it's our thoughts about what happened to us or what may happen to us that cause us long-term problems, according to the author, and that most of these thoughts, when unchecked, are irrational and basically deceive us and put a negative bias on the world around us. The author goes on to say, as much as that people and things are not upsetting, it's basically what we say to ourselves about those people and those things that leads us to our greatest upsets. So this is a basic but a very, very profound point, that the source of our suffering are the irrational thoughts that we may have inherited from somebody else, from our class friends, from our siblings, from our parents, from our grandparents, from our uncles and aunts, from our culture, from the media. Who knows where these irrational thoughts come from? And we can also create them ourselves. We can be the creator of these irrational thoughts. So there's a whole string of places that these things can come from. So these things lead to our disturbance, lead to our upset. And we need to somehow find a way to sort them out, to straighten them out, to straighten out our thinking, because this thinking, this wrong thinking, is causing us to be less happy. And the author then goes on to say, and I love this point dearly, that the best years of our lives are when we decide to own our problems. The day you decide to take ownership and responsibility for your problems is the day that the best years of your life are incubated and kicked off. So a very important point, a very profound point, a point that young people can benefit from tremendously, that the best years of your life will commence the day that you decide, not your parents, not your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your grandparent, your teacher, your boss, your solicitor, your psychologist, your doctor, not when they decide, but when you decide to take ownership and responsibility for your own problems. And the author then goes on to talk about another topic which is really profound and revealing and a real eye-opener, where he talks about the fact that there is a big difference between thinking, and listen to this word, there's a big difference between thinking and emoting. There's a big difference between thinking and emoting. Between thinking and feeling. Emoting is when you feel about something and that feeling influences your thinking, whereas thinking is more about how you think about something, and that in turn could also influence your feelings of that thing, but predominantly either you're a thinker or you're an emoter. So a thinking person, and you'll have different views about this, but this is what this author is all about. He says a person who thinks, a thinking person, can make better decisions which are less biased on the past, whereas an emoting person, a person who bases their decisions on how they feel, will be more likely to base their decisions on the past, on how the past has made them feel. So an emoting person is a person who could possibly be biased in their thinking capability. So the author then goes on to talk about the fact that there are two types of pain. There's physiological or physical pain, pain that you feel with your body and your senses, and there's also a psychological type of pain that is felt in your brain, in your mind. Physical pain you can't control. Physical pain is pain that is created by some external source, by some external stimulus, and you can't really control physical pain. But psychological pain, according to the author, psychological pain is something that you can control. But psychological pain is the pain that can last a much longer than physical pain, and if mistreated can last a lifetime and shape a person's whole life if mistreated. So the author talks about the importance of learning how to redirect how we feel and how we think, rather than just accept it for what it is, to challenge it. Because sometimes the way we feel about something, sometimes the way we emote about something is not entirely right and deceives us and creates a reality which is not supportable or objective. So our internal dialogue is something that we need to address, or at least to be aware of. Our internal dialogue is what we say to ourselves about what we're currently experiencing. And that can range from being negative to being positive, depending on how you guide it, how you address it, or how you shape it. Our internal dialogue, if unattended and left to run its own path, can most certainly lead to depression, because a lot of the things that we say to ourselves, a lot of the things that we feel lead to nonsense, are not supported by reality, and as we said, can lead to depression and unhappiness and suffering. So this is a topic, this is a book that can probably help people understand themselves a little bit better. So what else can we learn from this book? So we need to make tough choices, and we need to make a massive tough choice according to this author, because we live in a dilemma. We constantly live in a battle and in a dilemma where we either have to decide to stay depressed for a long time, or immediately tackle and effectively tackle those negative feelings by observing what they did to create those negative feelings in the first place. As they say, the future never presents itself unannounced. And what the author is saying is that our negative feelings, our depression, has come from somewhere. There is a source to our ill feeling, to our negativity, to our sadness. And it's up to each person to try and identify what causes that sadness. I think I can see a stingray, a big stingray down there. Let me just try and focus in on it. I don't know if you can see it there, but we'll just focus on it for a little while and see if it just keeps on moving, or whether or not it's a piece of kelp. No, it's definitely a stingray. It's moving. So I'll keep on talking and we'll keep on observing that moving ray down there. How beautiful. So we need to observe and to think and to journal how things make us feel in order to try and address them and to make them better. Anyway, I'm not sure if that is moving or if it's in a stationary position. It could be feeding down there. Let me just zoom back out again. There you go. How beautiful is this location? So the goal is not to completely rid ourselves of depression or rid oneself of depression. I must admit I don't suffer, or I don't think I suffer from depression, but I do know people who do. But the author says is that there is no silver bullet. You can't rid yourself entirely of depression, because it's something that has been built up and been learnt over a long period of time, over a number of years. But the goal is to depress yourself less often and to try and escape the mood where possible. And it's a mood that you could have consciously or subconsciously dropped into. Once again, it's an important point that the author is making, that our depression or one's depression can be something that you can be consciously or subconsciously drawn into. Once again, really, really important, really, really interesting. So the next point that the author talks about in this wonderful book is where they talk about anxiety, and the difference between anxiety and depression, from what I've learnt from different authors, is that depression is when one lives in their past, when one spends too much time thinking and mulling and repeating and dwelling in their past. Whereas anxiety is at the other end of the spectrum. Anxiety, from what the author says, is where one spends more time worried and anxious about their future. So once again, it's a difference in perspective. One spends their time living in their past, the depressed ones, worrying about what had happened in the past, something that definitely can't be changed. It can be, I guess, reframed, but it can't be changed. You can change the way you look at your past, and that can help. But the others look in the other direction, and they look to their future. And by looking to their future, they worry about things which may not have happened yet. Because we need to understand and to remind ourselves that nobody has lived their future, has lived in their future. And most of the things that we think about in terms of our future are irrational, are untested, are yet to come to reality. So the best way to look at it, according to this author and other authors, is to understand that because our future is yet to come, our thoughts of our future are biased and in many cases are irrational and wrong. Not only are they wrong, but they're very, very wrong. Because if you sit and journal your fears and your thoughts and all of those things that are happening in the world, you will most probably, I think what that little black patch down there is, now that I can see it a little bit better, is a pod of baitfish, a small pod of baitfish, which are making their way up the beach. In the past, I've been where I am here and I've seen dolphins down there. So that thing in the water looks like it's a group of fish huddled together moving up the beach. Could be squid, but once again it could be a stingray, but I'll keep an eye on it and report back to you as we go through and finish off this vlog. So as we said, it's a difference in perspective, but if you journal your fears, if you journal your thoughts, what the author says here is that sooner or later you'll see a pattern, and that pattern, once examined, will show you that far less than 10% of your fears, far less than 10% of your anxieties will ever come to fruition. So to understand that if you're rational and if you take ownership of your problems and deal with your problems rather than worrying about your problems, sooner or later they won't become problems. Because life is variable and most of the things that you worry about never happen. And so a little bit more about anxiety. So the author gives us a call to action, and the call to action is that we need to dispute one's irrational philosophies. How many times are we surrounded by people who have these conspiracy theories, these absolutely childish and ridiculous conspiracy theories that they've picked up on the internet because some other nutter has tried to rationalize it and talk about it. But you know that it's virtually impossible for it to be real. And there are scientists and leaders in their field who tell us time and time again how ridiculous these conspiracy theories are. These conspiracy theories, the freedom wankers, the people who are worried about their freedoms and how the world is conspiring to take their freedoms away and to study them and to watch them and to control them. How bloody stupid. But then again, the author says that there are people who are surrounded by people who have mental health issues, who live with anxiety, who have irrational fears. But the call to action is that you as a rational person needs to dispute these irrational philosophies, stand up to them, tell them that they're wrong, show them that they're wrong, and make sure that these stupidities don't become part of your internal thought processes. And the way you can do that is to try and rid yourself of the fear factor, the FUD, the fear, uncertainty and doubt. Now, the sort of questions where you say to yourself, it would be terrible if, isn't it terrible that, if things happen. All of these things, you don't have to worry about them. Take life one step at a time, one day at a time, and be rest assured that as a human, as a rational human, you will find a solution for all of your problems. None of your problems are going to overwhelm you. None of your problems are unsolvable. Everything has a solution. And once you understand that, then you can live freely. You cannot be shackled by fear, uncertainty and doubt and live in constant fear and terror like some people do. And we've got to understand that yes, life is unpredictable and shit happens. But if things happen, yes, it's inconvenient, it's unfortunate, but it definitely won't be the end of your world and it won't be the end of my world, unless when I'm walking back after this vlog, I slip and then 300 or 400 metres down the cliff. So it's not the end of the world. So we need to actively go through a process of propagandization and to eliminate ourselves and ferret out our negativity and our irrational fears. And as we said, a lot of these irrational fears are operating at the conscious and subconscious level. Some of them are deep-rooted. Some of them we have inherited through our workplaces, through our schools, through the media, through the books we read, through the people we hang out with. Steve Covey always tells us that sooner or later you're going to be the average of the half dozen people you hang out with. So if you're hanging out with dropkicks, guess what? You can end up being a dropkick. if you hang out with anti-vaxxers, guess what? You're going to be an anti-vaxxer. If you hang out with freedom wankers, guess what? Yep, you guessed it. You're going to be one of them as well. So it's important to set and build a moat around our sanity, around our feelings, around our rationality, and protect ourselves from all of the negative influences. And we need to control our emotions and to know that we as humans are habitual in nature, and we are emotional, especially from a cultural perspective. I know that being a Greek, my Greek side, my Greekness is highly emotional, and people can use that, can manipulate that to their advantage and my disadvantage. But by the same token, this author tells me that I too can manipulate my emotions, my feelings, to be able to get around them and to control them and to be less negative or less depressed or less anxious through controlling my thoughts and controlling how I see things and how I thus feel about things. So one of the big lessons from this book is that we all need to learn how to not overreact. The knee-jerk reaction, the overreaction, is something that is damaging, because when we overreact, we tend to kick in our reptilian brain. We go into fight, flight, or freeze response, and we stop thinking rationally. We start reacting, and we start doing things without thinking about them. We become spontaneous. And if you become spontaneous, that can possibly help you in an emergency to get you out of the way of a car that's hurtling your way. But if you're playing tennis, or if you're working, or if you're in a relationship and you're discussing things, overreacting will make you less capable of thinking, less capable of rationalizing and thinking about things and taking into consideration the first, second, and third level consequences of your decision and your actions. So the author needs to ask us to look at our verbalizations and to challenge what we say about things and what we say to ourselves and the language that we incorporate in our everyday life. Challenge ourselves. And the easiest thing and the best thing to do is to accept your past. Your past is your past. And as I said before, you can possibly look at reframing your past and not focusing on all the negatives, but trying to reframe it and to focus momentarily on all the good things that happened in a relationship or in a friendship which has gone sour. Surely there were good times, and to focus on those good times. An auntie of mine told me when my uncle passed away, before he passed away, he said to his dear wife, if there is just one moment that we shared together that was beautiful and that you enjoyed, I want you to hold on to that one moment and that one moment only, and not to ever think and to bring up the negative times, the times we fought, the times that we argued, and all of those challenging times that we had, but challenging times that all couples have. I just want you to remember me based on the good times that we had together, and to forgive me of all the bad things that I did to you, and things that I knew that I was doing, and also the things that I didn't know that I was doing. A very profound and very prophetic and philosophical person he was indeed, and some message that we can all learn from. So, as the author says in this book, accept our past, accept your past, accept their past, and know that it is over. It can't be changed. We can't live there any longer. And to commit to living in the present, because today's present is going to be tomorrow's past. And if you stuff up the present, then tomorrow you're going to be worrying about what you did right now, right here. So a very powerful lesson to focus and stay present, because your future is going to be today's present. Your present is going to deliver tomorrow's past. These are powerful, powerful words from a powerful book, from a powerful, beautiful location. So thank you everybody for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'll just stand up for a moment and show you where I'm standing and the vantage point that I'm enjoying. It's a beautiful place, beautiful part in the world, and I dearly try with Jim's 5am Club to marry up, to highlight, to showcase the beauty of this country, the beauty of creation, and to supplement it and complement it with a message of empowerment, which usually comes via a book summary, via OPE, other people's experiences. Wow, I can see a pod of dolphins down there at Shoal Bay. I'll try and focus in on them. Don't know if you can see them from here, but they're just busily feeding on the surface down there. A little hard to see from here because it's probably about 1 kilometre away. But I'll head down there later on and see if I can pick them up as they come around the bay, and see if I can get them from this vantage point down there. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm on top of the world, and I feel like today that I'm the king of the world. It's a beautiful day. Heading back home. Paula's woken up. She's doing the housework. God bless her. I'm doing my 5am Club, and what we'll try and do is we'll try and head to the Hunter Valley. I'll try and take it to a winery, and we'll just have a bite to eat and share some quality time together whilst my children, my daughters, are in Greece. They decided to hop on a plane last Friday to go to Greece for just 1 week to see their aging grandmother and to spend some quality time with her while she still has her faculties, to go and give some support to their aunties who are looking after their mother, and to see their nieces, or their cousins, should I say, and to make the most of this opportunity, given that they've been in lockdown for almost 2 years now, or difficult to travel, international travel lockdown. So they're over there at the moment. They've been able to celebrate and enjoy time with their grandmother, with their family, and they've also had the gift, believe it or not, of a snowstorm in Athens, where it's been snowing and dumping snow. It's been the heaviest snow that it's been there for a while. So another beautiful, beautiful gift that they'll never ever forget, I don't think. Anyway, take care, Yassas. This is a longish sort of vlog, but I think it was one which I definitely enjoyed delivering, and I hope that you enjoyed receiving. So thank you for joining me on this vicarious journey, where we've come out to the cliff face here at Mount Tomaree. I'm risking my life to bring you a message of empowerment, something that we can incorporate into our lives, something that we can pass on to our children, our loved ones, and hopefully develop mind maps and pictures so that we can go to them and help us solve our own challenges as and when they materialise and appear. Take care, Yassas, and bye for now.